Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something I'm personally super pumped about. We are cracking the code of high-stakes English proficiency exams. If you've ever felt that sheer, eye-twitching frustration of studying endlessly for a language test only to get completely tripped up by trick questions, well, you're in exactly the right place.
So let's kick things off with a massive reframe. Think about it. Are these exams really testing your English, or are they just testing your ability to spot traps? The truth is, the test makers are clever architects of illusion. Yes, you obviously need a baseline understanding of the language, but you're about to learn how to see right through their matrix. This is a psychological game, and as of right now, you aren't just a language learner anymore, you are a test-taking strategist. Here's our playbook for today. We're going to move module by module to elevate your performance from average to a savvy, high-scoring strategist. We'll decode the listening traps, master the cold logic of the reading section, unpack the golden structure for writing, and finally, maximize that speaking score. Let's get right into it.
All right, Level 1, Decoding the Listening Traps. This module is an absolute minefield where auditory distractors are literally waiting for you at every turn. Let's break down the classic double information trap. Imagine you're listening to an audio track about, say, hiring a public room. You hear someone say, the standard rate is £500, but since it's a Saturday evening, it goes up to X, though we do offer a £50 discount for members. You know what happens? The average student hears that first number, £500, and bam, they write it down immediately. But you're going to wait. The winning strategy is to actively listen for the final, net agreed price that is specifically tied to that Saturday evening.
Then we have the shared consonant trap. Say you're arranging things with a Mr. Evans on the audio, and suddenly he spells out a specific room name or an email address. It sounds so simple, right? But under pressure, easily confused sounds like J versus G or A versus E can absolutely wreck your score. The strategy to beat this is mechanical and foolproof. When a word is spelled out, do not try to write it directly on the horizontal blank. Write the letters vertically in your margins as they're spoken, and then neatly transfer them over. It literally saves you from real-time processing errors.
Moving on to map tracking. Let's say you're dealing with a layout for the Fitty Working Heritage Farm. There are exact mechanical steps to perfectly trace the layout without getting lost. Step 1. Put your pencil tip directly on the "You are here" X next to the new barn. Physically anchor yourself to the page. Step 2. Listen carefully for relative directional cues, like as you face away from. And Step 3. This is the real game changer. Predict features before they even speak. If you need to find a scarecrow or a maze, simple geometry tells you they're going to be small outdoor plots next to a path, right? A cafe, on the other hand, will be a larger building. Anticipate the shape, and the audio just becomes a confirmation of what you already suspect. Now for academic multiple choice, a huge stumbling block is distinguishing between a myth a student believed versus what actually happened in reality. For example, consider an audio track about a gender in physics project. The test makers will deliberately mention every single multiple choice option just to mess with you. In this specific scenario, the students thought the grading was biased and that they were looked down upon, which happened to be options A and B. But as a savvy listener, you are waiting for the contrast marker. The audio will say something like, however, it turns out their actual marks were perfectly on par with the men. The myth was bias, the reality was equal performance. That contrast marker makes C the only correct answer. You have to listen for the pivot, not just the keywords. Okay, shifting gears to the reading module. And I really need you to hear this. This section is way less about deep, immersive reading comprehension and far more about micro-searching and strict, cold logic. Do not read these passages like a novel. You need to read them like a programmer hunting for a bug. Understanding the difference between not given and false is an absolute game changer, especially for trickier texts like a passage on vertical farming. Let's clear this up once and for all. If a question asks whether methods for predicting population have changed, and the text only mentions that current estimates are conservative, well, the text is totally silent on the history of the methodology changing. That is not given. But if a question says fertilizers will be needed and the text explicitly states the need for fertilizers is eliminated, that is a direct mathematical contradiction. That is false. Silence versus contradiction. That's the secret sauce. And when you hit diagram questions, like one describing the mechanics of the Falker wheel, remember this golden rule. It's just a step-by-step mechanical process. It is absolutely not a test of your overall reading ability, and you definitely don't need to be an engineer. You literally just follow the physical sequence in the text. Let's see exactly how this matching mechanic builds. The source text says, 2 hydraulic steel gates are raised. Your diagram label says, a pair of blank are lifted. Finding exact synonyms practically hands you the answer. 2 equals a pair of. Raised equals lifted. Therefore, the missing word is gates. Next line, a hydraulic clamp is removed, allowing the wheel to turn. The diagram says, a blank is taken out, enabling the wheel to rotate. Removed is taken out, turn is rotate. So, the missing word is undeniably clamp. See, it's a pure matching game.
Moving right along to the writing module. This is where a lot of genuinely great English speakers stumble, mostly because they just start writing freely. Providing structured blueprints is the absolute key to outsmarting the grader. You want to hand them the exact format they're already trained to give high scores to. Take a typical Task 1 scenario, like a chart showing Central Asia's massive 88% agricultural dependency for water usage. To secure a band 7 or higher, please don't just write a mechanical grocery list of numbers. The golden structure demands you group the data logically. You've got to contrast this agriculturally heavy world, like Central Asia, Africa, and South America, with the industrial heavy regions, like Europe or North America, where industrial use spikes up to 53%. Tell the story of the contrast. Don't just list the percentages.
Now, for a Task 2 essay, let's say on railways versus roads, using a 4-paragraph partial agreement blueprint is going to be your best friend. Why? Because a balanced, nuanced essay is beautifully easier to expand to 250 words than a purely one-sided argument. In Body 1, make the case for rail, scalability, carbon emissions, cutting urban sprawl. But then, in Body 2, make the case for road maintenance, because roads provide that vital last-mile delivery in rural access. By arguing a partial agreement, you naturally generate more complex vocabulary and end up with a far more sophisticated, well-rounded essay.
Finally, let's step right into the speaking section. In Part 2, the long-term cue card, you're handed a topic and have to speak continuously for 2 whole minutes. This is your moment to shine and really showcase a high-level idiomatic range. If you're asked to describe an apartment or a house, do not fall back on basic adjectives. Do not just say it has a big living room. Instead, deploy sophisticated upgrades to sound effortlessly fluent. Instead of big, say the space was unbelievably airy and open plan. Instead of modern, call it a sleek, minimalist aesthetic. And instead of saying it has a nice view, describe how the room was flooded with natural light offering a panoramic view. These upgrades instantly signal to the examiner that you possess a truly sophisticated lexical resource.
Now, let's be honest, 2 minutes can feel like an eternity. If you feel like you are running out of things to say, deploy a fantastic natural conversation filler like this. If memory serves me right, the last time I visited this place was during a family gathering, and what really struck me was how effortlessly the space accommodated everyone. This is essentially a parachute. It allows you to gracefully pivot from describing the physical building to describing a personal memory, securing those final precious seconds while maintaining perfect idiomatic fluency.
To wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final thought. Success on these exams is heavily about preparation, formatting, and logic, not just your natural conversational fluency. So, knowing what you know now about the traps, the structures, and the logic they use, are you ready to stop just taking the test and start truly outsmarting it? Take these blueprints, apply them to your practice, and watch your scores completely transform. Until next time, keep learning and keep outsmarting the system.